Doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.
So thank you for those insights. And now let me move on again on our sort of global tour. So our next speaker joins us from the island of Tasmania on the other side of the Pacific. The Right Honourable Nick Sherry is the former Minister of Superannuation and Corporate Law and one of the fathers of the Australian pension miracle. Imagine a country where pension assets represent more than 180% of GDP, as opposed to only 20% or 30% for most nations. Nick is, of course, the co-founder and chairman of the Singapore Economic Forum, SEF, and the vice chair of the World Pensions Council. And he joins us today in the latter capacity. So, Nick, over to you in Devonport for your remarks. The floor is yours.
Thanks, and delighted to be here. Tasmania, Australia. Some are never sure where it is, but yeah, delighted to be here, and unfortunately only relatively briefly because of a pre-existing commitment. And delighted to have been a founding member of the Australian system, which is now about $3.3 trillion, 180% of GDP. And of course, the Australian system has long had extensive experience in respect to infrastructure. I'd say modestly we were one of the early leaders in the world in investment in infrastructure, and also ESG, green issues related to investment by superannuation, as we call it, pension funds. And also delighted to be a founding member of the advisory board, our organisation of the African Green Infrastructure Investment Bank. It's fantastic that the African Union has recognised the centrality, the importance of the asset owners, particularly in the pension fund world. It's not the only important driver in respect to investment. Of course, sovereign wealth funds, insurance companies, other financial institutions with a massive pool of capital are very central to mobilising the shift that has started to occur and will continue to occur in respect to the owners of capital and infrastructure, and also all of the ESG issues associated with infrastructure. And as I mentioned, we do have a great deal of experience in the area, and I'm more than willing to connect one-on-one with anyone who's interested in understanding some of the detail and complexities of those issues. And of course, a carbon target or a net zero objective can't be met without the shift by the financial institutions. And it is important and it is urgent that governments, and as a former member of a government, as well as extensive superannuation pension experience, it is important the world over to modernise oversight regulation of financial institutions to allow investors to responsibly shift into this sector. And that's why we support the initiative of the CFA Institute and your friends and colleagues in Africa. It's been very interesting to listen to the range of speakers to date. So thank you for inviting me to make some brief remarks. Hubert, back to you.
Doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.